Hello and welcome to another modelling video. This is Alan from the Mokanaman at YouTube with another modelling video. We'll be going into a second video about my 2015 Japan trip, and in the last vlog video I did, I talked about where you can buy models and do your shopping. I feel today with photo evidence I will show some places that you could visit to see finished models on display and model galleries. First, we are going to start off in Osaka, in an area called Denden Town, not far from Shin Imamiya and Shin Imamiya Station. Quite a few of the regular stores that you will find all across Japan, including the Kotobukiya showroom, as well as Volks and other large businesses. If you're entering Denden Town from the direction of the subway metro or the JR line, you'll be heading to Osaka Tower and beyond. Besides an abundance of adult stores, you'll come across Softmap. Softmap's a large chain of electrical goods stores. They have hobby sections, a lot of anime goods, a largish model kit section, tools, a couple of snap kits on display, and nothing special. Followed that, around the centre, there will be two Super Kids Land stores to the left side of the street. The first one is a large hobby building. It has a Tamiya floor, military floor, four-wheel drive floor, ships, cars, trains, every section of hobby you could possibly imagine. It's a large building, very clearly displayed, and there should be a model display somewhere in the window. Currently, it's a Star Wars theme, lots of stormtroopers. Throughout the store, besides all of the stock for sale, they'll have glass cabinets with snapped together examples, prototype or early release kits that has not been put on the market yet, as well as pretty good snapped, cleaned up to well painted models. When you start going to the ships and military car sections, you'll see some lovely and wonderful built armour, airbrushed, nicely finished, nicely weathered, and very fine detail ships. Generally, ships are a very popular subject in Japan, as well as Gundams, so you'll see a lot of ships as well as tanks out and about. Not so much aircraft, unlike the West. Now, Super Kids Land is divided into two stalls. The first one's fairly tall. There's a lot to it, toy section and modelling sections, as well as your cars and whatnot. Castles and wood included. The second store is further down the street, and it has a lot of Gundam paraphernalia all over it, including a large billboard and a giant life-size Gundam painted on the side of the building. Very, very cool. This is a two-story building. The ground level will have Kotobukiya parts, paints, kits, toys, whatnot. The second level, if you go up an escalator or stairs, will have all the Gundam kits. Now, they'll have a small display area with kits for sale, as well as kits that are finished by commission and ready to be sold. Really, really wonderful. But the motif and design of the actual room itself is displayed as if you're in the white base itself. It's got these big doors that appear to open and close sideways like a starship, a giant Gundam hand coming out of a wall, as well as kits on display, snap and painted on all the shelves, and these little tutorial laminated cards showing you basic methods of painting, inking, washing, assembling. Very friendly. The staff dress up, lay back, tax-free, very worthwhile shop. Prices are alright. There's a lot to look at, and it's very easy to feel overwhelmed with the models on both levels. Very cool shop. Volks is a very serious model shop, and I'll talk about it more in the Tokyo video. Absolutely essential to check out. The models on display are very, very top-notch. Great stock available. Every level's a different theme, like Super Kids Land, where you got a Gundam floor, anime floor, military, ships, aircraft. but the kits are on display are absolute magazine quality master builds, some assembled and painted and displayed by modelling celebrities. Absolute essential and must see shop if you can't visit anything else if your trip in Japan is short. The following collection of pictures is from Yodobashi Camera. Now, there is a few more smaller stores that you will see throughout Denden Town, a lot of second-hand shops, Yellow Submarine, mostly just stuff for sale, a few second-hand cabinets with commission work for sale, but nothing of too much note. The Yodobashi pictures are a compilation of Osaka and Kyoto. They both have large shops near their major train stations, particularly the Shinkansen stations. I can't quite tell them apart. More or less, it is a very large shopping complex or centre that specialises in electronics, cameras, household goods. Normally has a toy and hobby level, especially an area just for modelling and hobbies. The majority of the built, painted, weathered kits are going to be your tanks, your aircraft, your ships, and maybe the castles. Now, this is more of a general open public laid back store over Volks. Volks is where you've got your more elite high level modelling and people who take the hobby quite seriously. This feels that it's marketed more towards general population and all sorts of levels of casual modelling. Not saying that one is superior to the other in skill, but probably in intention and motivation and drive. That aside, with most of your military stuff being very well painted and assembled, the majority of your Gundam kits, and there's a very large section, will show 90% of them just snapped together and on display. Especially products that are new and very popular at the moment. They'll also heavily focus on a lot of other science fiction subjects. They had a lot of the Star Wars stuff on display, Kota Bakir, all of their lines, including the Zoids and Armor Core, and displays of lesser known and popular brands. It's a very diverse store. They'll have a lot of tools and equipment on display, including airbrushes, as well as examples and uses of some products and aftermarket parts out on the market. Generally, if you're visiting a city or the country and intend to shop for your hobby, Yodobashi is mostly an obvious choice. The prices are pretty good, so you're definitely going to be buying simplistic stuff to probably a lot of tools, which is highly recommended. It is very intriguing to see all the kits on display, be it painted or most of them not. It's a very good way to see how the kits come out without going online and making a decision on the spot, as well as being entertaining and great to look at them all. Talking about Kyoto, if you happen to be staying in Kyoto for more than a couple of nights and do your homework on Google Maps, there's quite a few very old mum and dad style shops floating around the place, especially around large historical or tourist attractions. So once you have visited your Imperial Palace or your Torii Gates, there are smaller second-hand shops nearby, and in the window and out and about you'll see some older, very well models built during the 80s using old-fashioned enamels with the seam lines still appearing. Matter of fact, if you do your homework and Google Map whatever city you're staying at, you'll find all sorts of interesting shops like this second-hand range in Himeji. What was a surprising find for me a while ago was the Volks in a small shopping centre in Kobe. This Volks is quite small and it's not of a high caliber or quality compared to the Osaka and Tokyo one, though still very worthwhile checking out. A lot of fantastic models on display, a couple of items they may have in stock that others don't, and a lot of painted builds. Volks are always worth checking out wherever you go. The galleries are just amazing. It wasn't so much the quality of the work that I didn't like this store as much, but it's probably more so the upkeep, the models being allowed to fall over in the cabinets and getting dusty. There probably needs to be a bit more time maintaining the store. That, and sometimes when wandering around, you can just find some pleasant surprises. In this random alley in Kobe, I found this Shah Aznable bar. Now, within the bar, they had which was a bit dark and dingy, a very cool theme. Lots of hand-painted and airbrushed models on display all around the place. Unfortunately, you have to pay a fee to sit there and drink and look at all the models. And a friend of mine who went quite south from Osaka saw this quite large Gundam vs. Zaku display. I don't remember where he said this photo was taken. Now for the Mandarake store, this is the Osaka one. The relief of the building and displays about is far more amusing than the models on display. There may be some really old commission kits being passed on from another second-hand owner to another at reasonable-ish prices. Excellent place to shop, though the actual architecture itself is probably the most amusing element, as well as just a fantastic shopping opportunity. The last two photos are of the Tokyo Shibuya store. Now for the final city, Tokyo, and one of the most obvious places to visit in Tokyo is Akihabara, absolute mecca in all sorts of hobbies and interests. There are quite a few hobby shops. Being an absolute populous area, you'll have the best of the best. There is also a lot of non-hobby, being toy, video game, media, and if that's not your stick, then it can be a bit boring or frustrating. Though wandering around in general, you will come across all sorts of just general interesting sights and whatnot. Though I will at least hint in a couple of locations to go. If you're feeling a bit unsure, the Radio Khan building does have a few of the big names there that it's definitely worth checking out, especially Volks. Your Kotobukir store has quite a large showroom. That's always a lot of fun. Akihabara also has a Yodobashi camera, quite a large one, lots on display. The Gundam Cafe is a bit disappointing unless you're more into the toy scene and just general themes and food. Quite a few second-hand shop that has the large clear boxes that you look at the stock you want, choose them, and staff will pull it out for you to buy. They may have quite a bit of custom or commission builds on display, as well as normally the soft map on the corner does have a display or two of large-scale figures or some sort of commemoration item or a couple of snap kits on the side. A newish store that I had the opportunity to visit was the Plum showroom. Plum is a small manufacturer of model kits, mostly subjects based off video games, be it figures or mecha. Very, very interesting, very, very cool. As well as toys, they had a small idle stage for demonstrations and all sorts of anime-themed drinks and whatnot. The models on display are extremely well built and painted. The staff are very cool with cameras. Very, very interesting place. Prices are great. I reckon a Plum model is always worthwhile getting and giving a go. Artso Bit City used to be a very, very famous model shop as well as hobby shop, BB guns and whatnot. Sort of transformed. It's selling a lot of duty-free goods and house goods. It used to have a lot of models, particularly from Dengeki Hobby. I hear that magazine has folded. They also had the very large Dengeki modelling booth where you could watch people build live. What's left over is a few Bandai models, works by Mr. Kawaguchi, very worthwhile checking out. The hobby-related stuff is only on one floor with an exhibition space on the roof. That may or may not have something of interest, but it is a once great, really fantastic hobby store, probably worth mourning. Finally, the best, and a place you probably want to spend a lot of time at, Volks Akihabara. This store is divided in two. Half of it's at the Radio Khan building, a lot of plastic, your tanks, your military, stuff like that, really fantastic builds, a lot to see, very well laid out. Staff are pretty knowledgeable. Glass cabinets everywhere, just full of amazing tanks and ships and planes to have a look at. Some competition winners, some belonging to magazines. They are very strict about photos. They don't like that sort of activity in their store. Had to be a tad sneaky, but absolute worthwhile having a look, trying to take a photo if you can. The second building next door has a lot of your Gundam stuff and resin figures. A lot of their own in-house models as well. Unfortunately, in the area of the resin kits, they also sell some pretty premium figures and toys, so mixing the two up can be confusing, but if you just like looking at it, that can be absolutely perfectly acceptable. Just so much models on display, you'll definitely spend an hour or so. It also can be a bit confusing in the second building, as Yellow Submarine is quite close, and they've got some models on display, as well as selling second-hand and model parts in little bags. But all in all, in a nutshell, that's about it that you can see in permanent fixed displays when visiting. If you do your homework and Google events, your Wonderfests, your joint festivals, all that sort of stuff, any sort of model show from a Gunpla Builders World Cup to IPMS, you may or may not come across something. Other noticeable places are the Tamiya showroom in Tokyo and the Shizuoka Hobby Square, which I'll do a separate video on. And in the end, probably the most high profile, important and best display you could see, which is also free, at Odaiba, Diver City. In front of the plaza is the 1:1 scale Gundam. It's a very popular touristy attraction. People come and see that. I don't think that's the main attraction, as cool as it is. In the Bandai display inside, in one of the top levels, is a large display and premium showroom. They will have the previous year Gunpla Builders World Cup kits on display. The current photos that I have in this gallery is the 2015 winners, model kits from each country. The competition is generally, in contributing countries, the very best Gundam models built that year by those contributing countries for an adult division open, as well as a children's division. As mentioned in a previous video showcasing an older Gunpla Builders World Cup finals, the work is absolutely stunning and top tier, very worthwhile looking at, very worthwhile studying quite closely. Dioramas and just the scratch building and sheer workmanship, as well as in the room on the outer walls in very small glass cubes is all the current range of Gundam kits available, just the whole set of high grades, master grades, perfect grades, 1/100 scale kits and the older 80s range. Most of them are just snapped together. So in this gallery you'll have a lot of models to look at for a fair decent amount of time. Camera's safe, okay to have a look, and around December is where they actually have the championship and the tournament where the models go on display. So if you happen to be having a holiday or travelling through the country and you're doing all your usual touristy things and checking out sites and doing your shopping, here's just a few tips of places where you can, outside of your shopping and taking a time to stop and have a look, there's just a lot of wonderful kits to check out, learn from, study the detail. It almost feels like every time you go in one of these hobby shops that you're practically going to a hobby competition or show. Absolute ton of fun, highly recommended. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, until next time, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you guys later with more Japan pictures. Make sure to check the link below of my Facebook page. I'll be posting all of the modeling photos, including box and store outlays, in its own gallery.